Welcome, welcome to the Vibrant Living Podcast. This is where we talk about living aligned in spirit, soul, and your whole life, not just believing the right things, but leading with them. And I am your host, if we haven't met, Donna Tashjian. Today, we're going to talk about leadership, but not titles necessarily, and not positions necessarily, but the kind of leadership that shows up at work, at home, all the time. The kind of leadership that shapes teams, even cultures and families. And my guest today is Randy Wheeler, and I am excited to talk to him. Let me tell you a little bit about his bio. He is the owner of Wheeler Coaching and helps individuals and teams enhance leadership, communication, and teamwork. Boy, communication is so important. And he holds a master in organizational leaderships and serves as Maxwell Leadership Certified DISC consultant. Try to say that real fast. Working in Genius Facilitator. He's been doing this for over a decade and he's trained literally thousands across the US and developed leaders internationally. What I appreciated most when I met Randy is he believes leadership is not reserved for that corner office. He's cultivated in any seat. And that's why I know that we are going to benefit from what he has to say today and learn that full time, it's not necessarily full time entrepreneurship either. It's just learning to be able to be surrendered. And anyway, I don't want to give it all away. So, Randy, I'm really glad you're here. Where do you find yourself in the world?
I am in Indianapolis, Indiana area, a little suburb northeast of Indianapolis with my wife of 25 years, and I got three boys, 20, 18, and 15. So a lot of money going to colleges right now.
Oh, I have two grandsons and they're always breaking something. And
That's what boys do. That's what boys do so well.
my daughters will say to them, "What is mommy's main job?" And she'll say, "Keep us alive." That's what
That's good. That's valid.
they'll like put their head down to keep us alive. It's like, so I can imagine you raising three boys that you have stories to tell, but that's not today's podcast.
No, 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 no.
Oh, so wonderful. So, Randy, how did you get into this area of expertise and why is it important to you?
For years, I was in working with youth. I was a strength and conditioning coach. I worked with college students and then I transitioned to work with high school students. And I saw, hey, the why behind that was to help them develop the discipline and responsibility to accomplish a goal and help them become better leaders at whatever they did. I'd say that the parent meetings, that's what was my why behind it. Fast forward through a lot of stuff. I
Mhm.
was getting restless. I'd gotten my master's in organizational leadership. My wife's like, "What are you gonna do with that?" I'm like, "I'll let you know." And then, and fast forward, and I learned about the Maxwell leadership team, which gave me a path for developing leaders in organizations. And my thought process is like, if I can help people lead better at work, it helps them lead better at home, transforms homes, transforms communities. And if I can help the next generation see they're not just leaders tomorrow, but they're today's leaders, we're going to make some transformation happen and in the world. And at the end of the day, um, you don't have to have a position or title to be a leader. Leadership, I agree 100% with what John Maxwell says all the time and is well known for, but leadership is simply influence. Now,
Mhm.
I can keep going, but I feel like I'm getting off the answering your question.
No, I don't think so at all, because all of that is your why, of
hmm
what's important about this. And I'm with you. I use the phrase, I've studied John Maxwell as well, and I agree it's influence, but a lot of times working with women is that they really minimize their influence.
hmm
I've discovered, and so I call them hidden leaders. They don't think they're a leader. If you called them a leader, they'd probably argue with you. But if anybody looks to anybody in the room, it's them. And so I would love to hear some more your thoughts around this and perhaps even a couple of stories of how people's lives have, as you help them to develop.
So when I think about women as leaders, I think about my wife.
Hmm.
I think about my kids. I think about my mom. The common theme between my wife and my mom and every other mother um, is the little people in their life would not be the people they are without them.
Hmm.
Do not for a moment doubt that you are a leader. I wouldn't be the person I am today without the leadership of my mom in my life. The character I have, the person I am, is because of my mom's influence. Would
Hmm.
she say I'm a leader? No. Did she volunteer and lead certain things? Yes.
Hmm.
Was she wasn't a, did she work some? Yeah, to help put me through college. She was leading in that way. Or but the biggest thing is the influence.
Yeah.
And to your point, women, when you go in many organizations, it's women that are behind the scenes or in front leading what's going on
Yeah.
with or without a position.
Yeah.
Um, when I've worked, because so I'll work one-on-one coaching people, I'll work with organizations, and I can think of one individual I worked with, a female leader in an organization, and as we were working one-on-one, one of the things that she had a hard time saying no. I had a hard time saying no to people. I don't know if there's anybody that ever has a hard time saying no, but I said, "Hey, do this exercise." And it's this exercise to help her understand her top five values,
Hmm.
and what it did for her, because she's a phenomenal leader. She organizationally, she's a phenomenal leader. I don't know all the details of her personal life, but I know how she is a leader to her own daughters through our conversations, to her being an influence, and as her father's going through what aging fathers go through. But when she did this exercise, and what it did is gave her clarity on her top five values, and it gave her clarity on, hey, this is what I should say no to, and this is why. Because it's kind of like this: if I have a value, I had a situation where it was Monday night, and my son, I could go and coach my son, or I could go to this men's group, and both are good things.
Hmm.
But I chose to go coach my son because one, I value that time with my son, and two, I value pouring into the next generation.
Hmm.
So getting clarity on those values helps me decide where do I want to put my influence.
Yeah.
And that for her, it helped her decide what do I need to say no to, what do I need to say yes to organizationally and even on a personal level. So, that's one simple story of the importance of getting clarity on those values,
Yeah.
because at the core of your leadership and your influence are your values. At the core of my mom's influence on my life, my
Mhm.
wife's influence on our kids' lives, they are the kind of young men they're becoming because of my wife. A lot more than me. I'm just saying.
I have a couple of thoughts. One of them is the joke there where the man is the head, but the woman's the neck. It's just like
Agreed. Agreed.
that's kind of,
Agreed.
kind of an example of that. But a lot of times the woman does need to be the head in organizations and things like that. But but it is kind of, it's funny to picture it like that. And the other story, when you were talking about no, I was in my late 20s. I was running a nonprofit organization. I had three kids. My husband was working about 70 hours a week, so that meant I did everything else. And I was also volunteering at my church. And my pastor called me into his office, and I had my notepad ready. This is before, electronics, and I'm ready to, what do you need me to do? And he said, hang on a minute. He goes, I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and whatever I ask you to do, I want you to tell me no. And I'm like, what? And he says, I'm going to ask you to do this and to do this and I'm going to ask you to do some things and I want you to say no to me. And so he says, Donna, will you do this? And I'm like, I couldn't get the word out. I'm like, no. And he kept asking me and my voice began to get stronger. But that was a pivot moment in my life for me to realize when I say yes to something, I'm also saying no to
Mm,
something.
hmm hmm
And if you think about, I totally agree with you in values. This took a little bit different pivot. So if I volunteered to drive my son, we had a private school, so any away games parents drove. And I had a van, so I drove my teenage soccer team to all the away games, and I committed to do this, but I'm still supposed to keep up with all the meals. I'm still supposed to do all the laundry. I'm still supposed to do all the things that I was doing, and I'm beating myself up because I'm having trouble being away driving to this without realizing when I say yes to this, I am saying no. We're going to eat takeout or something. Or you're not going to get the laundry done for a little while. It's like, but giving yourself permission to realize when I say yes, because my son's team was a temporary thing, it's priority. It's
hmm
not going to always be there. Laundry will be.
For sure. For sure.
And so, but that was so crazy when he called me in and asked me just to continue to tell him no, because I had never said no to anything he'd asked me to do. And it is so funny how, and I bet there's a lot of women who can relate to not saying no for whatever reason.
Yeah. Some of us, it's easy to say no, but some of us, it's not. I also just think of, I've had a conversation, another female client that I've worked with who she's a great mom. And she has her own business that she's leading and it has been doing well for many years. But having to have conversations around, hey, you got to reframe your thinking around who you are and that why do people come to you? Why do people come to you? They come to you because you are leading them. They need the service you're providing
Mhm.
and they're saying, "Hey, help me. You're the expert." And just helping sometimes we all, I don't this isn't even a I'm a guy, so I'm going to say it from a guy's perspective
Mhm.
that guys are dumb and we won't admit that we're just little boys on the inside sometimes that need our little fragile ego stroke. So regardless of gender,
Yeah,
there's a need for sometimes people to help us see what we're not seeing and the
absolutely.
value we're bringing to the world
Absolutely.
through what we're doing either in a professional sense or
Mhm.
how we're giving back to the community. But at the end of the day, I don't know, you're gonna have to share with me, but I know it's something a tangled web we as men get into is putting who we are and our value and worth in what we do.
Yeah,
It does who we are is not what we do.
yeah,
Who we are is perfectly imperfect human beings that are loved the way we are.
yeah.
You know, I'm a person of faith, so I feel that
Yes.
that's a God of the universe that feels that way. If you're not that, just know that you're perfectly imperfect and you're loved the way you are, and you can figure all the other stuff out on the end. You know,
Yes.
but needing that, knowing that okay, I have what it takes. I am bringing value, and I'm good at what I do, and owning that. And sometimes we just need that voice, and sometimes you are the person that's going to bring that voice. You who are listening, both of us are going to bring that voice to somebody that they're going to need to hear. I'm a person of value that brings value to other people, and what I have to say, how I show up, and what I do matters.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that with my husband is what he did for a living when he retired from UPS. He had a really hard shift
Mm,
of I can't say I'm Lee from UPS anymore. He had for 30 years. Now who is he? And so yeah, that was a very difficult moment in time for him. And for women leaders, I think the main thing core for women in their identity when it can get off, if you will, is relationships.
okay.
And that is such a core. But for a woman leader who has a dream or a passion,
Mhm.
it adds that component to it. So how can I be a success and do this without sacrificing this?
Hmm.
And how
Hmm.
do I do? It's like I either can choose to follow my dream or I get to take care of my family. But there is, you can do both. And it's that, so it begins to be, well, women are multifaceted. There's a lot going on.
I, I told my wife of 25 years, I've said, hey, if something happens to you, I'm gonna just go travel the world and help people because I don't want to try to understand another person.
Yeah, it's a lot. So we'll just leave it at that. But I love the part, I want to reemphasize it, is we can't see our own blind spots.
Hmm.
No matter, and you and I need coaches. It's like we have people that are speaking into our life because we help others, but we can't see our own blind spots. And
Yep.
so I think that understanding that actually the most successful people in their life have coaches, advisors, strategic people speaking into their life because that's why they're able to do what they're able to do because it empowers them to be fully themselves in the way that God designed them to be.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yep. As you were talking, I thought of, so you were talking about how it's that relationship piece. I, if I'm hearing you right, it's a little more different than how I, as a male, think. But it's like, hey, I want to pursue my dream, but I definitely don't want to sacrifice these relationships. We as men, as a male, I'm the same, but it's a little different.
Yeah.
But what comes to mind is that whole 80/20 rule is a practical thing of like, okay, if I want to be successful pursuing this dream, what are the two things I need to that get me 80% of my results to
Hmm.
get me moving towards that dream? What are the two things that are going to get me the best connection and the best time and the depth of the relationship that I want?
Yeah,
Because in almost every area of life, that rule applies. And that was just something practical that
yep.
came to mind. I don't know if you think that you see that as a really practical tool for.
Absolutely. What's the, I even like is what's the one thing I should do today? Kind of what's the
Mhm.
most important, if you will. And I love the biggest results thing because most of the time, let's say I'm fretting about whether I'm overcommitting in this area or lack of commitment in that area, whatever it is, and I'm sitting there and I'm using my brain power and energy to do this in my mind instead of focusing on what is the most productive thing. I'm actually doing nothing. I'm just fiddling with something.
Right, right,
Busy work, if you will, but really not accomplishing anything because I'm fretting about wondering about making a mistake that I'm actually not accomplishing anything. And we
right,
all do that at different points of the day. It's just like my brain is not focused on what. And I love one of the statements I read is we don't have a time management problem, we have a focus problem.
right,
Yeah, and if I just focused for an hour undivided, how much I could get done as opposed to the notifications and all of the things that occur today to swipe our our attention away from other things. So Randy, if people want to learn more about you and have you speak in, have a conversation with you and see if you're a good fit to help them, because
mhm.
there is a lot more you have available than we can touch on in this time period today. But if they want to learn more about you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah. Few ways is number one, feel free to email me, reach out to me directly at randy@wheelercoachingsystems.com, or go to that back end right there will take you to my website. Those are a couple of easy ways to connect with me. And I have different books that I've written that may be of value to you that are available on Amazon, but love to help and serve in any way.
What are some of the titles of your books?
One of them is When I Am Afraid. It's like a 40-day reader that helps with mindset. Um, and then another one, it's geared towards young people, but I've had adults or young adults read it. It's called I Am Worthy, and that one's a similar format. And then some of the other books are more specifically on leadership,
Okay,
building teams, and Leadership 101 and things like
awesome.
that.
Well, go check those out. And who do you know that you need to share this with? Randy, thank you so much for being on the Vibrant Living podcast. And thank you for all that you do to make the world a better place.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you, Donna.
My pleasure. What a great conversation because leadership is not performance, it's your presence. And the truth is, some of you listening are carrying more influence than you realize at work, at home, in conversation that maybe no one else sees. So, are you leading from pressure or from peace? And if today revealed an area that feels a little heavy, or unclear or misaligned, that's just awareness. Awareness is a doorway to grow to be ready for it. And if you're ready for a deeper conversation for clarity and alignment, I would love to talk with you. You can visit iVibrantLiving.com and let's talk and find out my up and coming events and other resources. You don't have to navigate influence alone. And go check out Randy and his books. Until then, live vibrantly. Bye for now.